This is the Trading Psychology Podcast. This is VP, creator of No Nonsense Forex and author of the book No Nonsense Forex Trading Psychology. And with me, as always, is Rob Reinhold.
Hello, everybody. This is Rob from Maverick Trading and Maverick Currencies. In case you don't know about us, we are a prop trading firm. We've got two divisions, Maverick Trading that does equities and options, and Maverick Currencies that does crypto and Forex.
And speaking of, Rob, crypto is moving again, finally, which is great. Hopefully it just keeps moving all the time. If you could speak to that a bit more, because there's almost no crypto prop firms out there. This is a really great, unique thing to not only take like one of the top prop firms in the world that also has a crypto division. I was so happy to hear that, and I wish more people knew about it. Talk about it a bit.
Well, we're very happy about it as well. We've been trading through Interactive Brokers for well over a decade, almost 15 years now. When Interactive Brokers gave us the opportunity to trade crypto, we said, that's awesome. We want to get this out to all of our traders to where this can now be an asset class. I love cryptocurrency trading because to me, it is the purest form of trading out there. And what I mean by that is it truly runs off supply and demand. There's no illusion of like a house. Oh, this house is worth this or this. Everyone understands that the current value is simply the perceived value of traders at the moment. It is pure and I love it. We want to have all of our traders have this as an avenue to where when other products aren't working well, like when Forex isn't really trending, cryptocurrency is most likely going to be trending to where they can always have a good tradable product.
Very nice. We talked for a couple episodes now on losing streaks, short and long. But winning streaks are very real too. And we don't just sit here and lose all day. We also win a lot. And sometimes we win in bunches. That is its absolute own psychological challenge. Now, I definitely have some thoughts on this, but Rob, I'm looking at our outline and you seem to bring a lot to the table here as well. How about you kind of start us off and tell us everything you can on this, and then I'll jump in a bit later, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's perfect. Baseball is the best analogy I can give to trading. I am not a huge baseball fan, but what I do love is stats. And for anyone who loves stats, baseball is amazing. Of all the stats that you could take a look at in baseball, I'm going to try to just tie some of these into trading. One of the very first ones, and the basic one we have, is called batting average. Batting average is the percentage of times that the batter actually gets a hit to where they reach that at least first base and maybe even further. It's just simply the percentage. The gold standard in baseball is hitting what's called 300. Now, when someone hits 300, it's .300. So they're basically saying 30% of the time. In baseball, if you have a career batting average above 30% or 300, .300, you typically make it into the Hall of Fame. That is kind of the gold standard, hitting 300. If you were to take a professional baseball player and chart their hitting, you're going to find losing streaks, just like what we've talked about in prior episodes. You're going to find one time where they struck out 7 times in a row. Now, during that period of time, during that period of statistics, their batting average might have been 100, .100. And then maybe sometimes during July, they got on this hot streak and they were batting 500 or 50%, .5000. All of a sudden, at that point, that hitter is on top of the world and they're thinking things like, I'm going to bat 500 for the rest of my life. Guess what? No one's ever done it before, ever in the history of baseball. And the thought that they're going to keep hitting 500 is completely a lie to themselves.
It's absurd.
So this is what happens in the world of trading. We have these streaks. Everyone, when they get into trader, thinks it's going to be slow and steady. No, it's fits and spurts. You make a ton of money, you give it back. You make good money, you give some back. That is how trading works, and that is how baseball works. So you have to understand that, yes, you are going to have losing streaks. Guaranteed. And we've done several episodes on that. We also need to talk about the winning streaks. You're going to have a ton of these as well, and they can set you up for failure just as much as losing streaks can. One of the things you brought up, Patrick, in our Dealing with Slumps video was that your traders are all going to have backtesting results. And we told them, go back into your backtesting results and see the losing streaks. You have a full record. Do you think it's valuable for them to go back and take a look at their winning streaks?
It's kind of like if anybody's ever been to a roulette table. You see a vertical sign, a light up sign, connected to every roulette table that tells you what the last numbers were hit are and what color they are as well. You see this in baccarat too, but it's the most distinguishable in roulette. And it's because they want you to look at that. And they want you to see the streak of numbers. So it makes you either think that there's got to be another, black coming, or that the winning streak is over and it's only, and reds are finally due, for example. So anybody who's seen this sign knows what I'm talking about. There's no reason to put that up other than to deceive you into thinking that either black is hot right now or red is hot right now. Or a lot of times on the craps table, if somebody is hitting, a bunch of rolls in a row, somebody will yell it. We have a hot roller, hot shooter. That will get everybody excited, like, oh, this guy must really be on a roll, because they believe in these fallacies. It's all done on purpose. And it's done because they want you to make this very mistake that you're talking about right here.
All of those games of chance are pure odds. What happened on the last roulette roll has no bearing on the next roulette roll. But if they can get you to think that it's different, you're going to make a bad decision and a bad choice. We really want everyone to prepare for losing streaks and prepare for winning streaks. Go back into your back testing and take a look at your best periods. And I want you to look at that best period, and I want you to think, boy, how do you think I would have felt at that moment? And then I want you to take a look at the period directly after that. My guess, just like in baseball, if a batter is hitting 500 and they are on top of the world and think they're the greatest thing ever, I guarantee you that somewhere in the next month or two, there's going to be a losing streak where they're batting 100. That's the nature of trading. So go back, look at your back testing, and see what happens after those win streaks. Just prepare yourself for what is likely to happen.
And I can attest to this a little bit too. I play fantasy baseball. Anytime some absolute nobody that nobody's ever heard of before and has no hype behind him gets on a hot streak, somebody always picks that guy up. And almost soon after that happens, he gets absolutely no return from that player because the streak's over. It's like anything else. It's the same thing with trends. Usually by the time you discover there's a trend, it's probably coming to an end. Same thing with anything else, with baseball players and with actual traders too.
So we want you to be ready for these streaks. They happen, and they are going to mess with you. We did 2 entire episodes on losing streaks. So let's talk about all the potential pitfalls that are going to happen to you on winning streaks. I have a lot of experience with this. This is my Achilles heel, has always been my Achilles heel. Whenever I have a hot streak, let me tell you what I used to do. I used to start planning out my family's future, planning out my next vacation that I'm going to go on. I start planning out how I'm just going to live off the interest for the rest of my life. I get into this area where I'm not even concerned about trading because I'm off in the clouds. And so what do? I get more aggressive because I've been doing so well. I trade more frequently and I trade larger size. That is my Achilles heel. I have sadly repeated this cycle more times than I like to admit. It finally took me having to really be aware of what I was doing before I had a chance to make any changes whatsoever. Did you struggle with this, Patrick?
For sure. Yeah, especially early on. Like I told you before, not only did I think I was so smart that I could easily beat a market like this, but I thought I had found these little ways. Remember how we talked about in the episode before when I found that pound CAD on the 30-minute chart? It sounds so absurd now, but I honestly thought, I was like, you know what? I don't think a lot of people are even looking over here. I mean, the pound CAD on the 30-minute, who even trades that? So I really did think I might have found some little obscure way to really beat the market consistently all the time. And for a while, I was actually doing that. So I'm thinking, man, okay, I'm really leaving a lot of money on the table, which is famous last words by a factor of 10. Never think you're leaving money on the table, and you need to ratchet up your risk for some reason. It's absurd, it's not real, but you will think it if you haven't already thought it. So yeah, it happened to me more early on. I think, and you and I have talked about this before, Rob, as you get more experienced, when you start getting these winning streaks, you almost get this sinking feeling in your stomach because you know it's about to end any moment now. That's just experience talking. Usually you're on cloud 9 early on in your career when you have these winning streaks. And this is really what we're kind of talking about today, not only recognizing them, but, we'll talk about little later on about what you can do about them too.
And one of the mistakes that I would usually make when you talked about leaving money on the table, I would go back to all my previous trades and say, if I would have done twice the position size, this is how much I could have made. And I set myself up for so much failure by going back and seeing what I would have made if I would have been more aggressive, which then is used to justify me becoming more aggressive at the worst moment I possibly could. Don't go back and rerun the numbers of what you could have made on a trade, or I got out here, but look how far it ran. I could have made this much money. All that is doing is setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because that's a really easy way to deviate from your system. You're like, well, maybe my money management system isn't what it really should be, or maybe my exit indicator is really, maybe it's too tight and it's getting me out too early. All because of one really big run that you missed out on. That's not a real thing. You're going to miss out on really big runs if you are a disciplined trader. That's just part of the game. You're going to hit some of them too, but you're also going to miss some. Like, you can't second guess yourself at this time. You just have to stay in the pocket and trade that system and see it through all the way to the end. But believe me, you're going to feel this way many times.
This is a great example of recency bias. We talked about recency bias in episode 11. This is recency bias rearing its head because you would never make those changes unless something had just recently happened to you to force you to make those changes. And that's why you're making the change. So recency bias is going to pop up all the time on this.
Yeah, and especially in winning streaks too, because like all of a sudden you went from a novice trader to like super duper pro, badass, top 0.1% trader in what, the matter of a month, the matter of a week? Do you really think that happened? I guarantee you it's impossible. Especially if you're in your first few years, you're not going to be any good. Even if your results are good, you as an actual trader, as somebody who can build a system and follow a system, is still going to be miles away from where you're going to be years from now. As Rob says, you don't know shit. As VP says, you're not any good. You're still way too early in your career. Just stay consistent. Stop thinking that you're leaving money on the table. And on the other side, stop thinking that your career is over because you went through a losing streak. None of these things are true.
So true. But yet we find ourselves trapped in these cycles. At least I did as a young trader. I kept doing the same things over and over again, and I couldn't seem to change it. I really had to do a deep dive and think about, oh my gosh, how can I change this? I keep falling into this cycle. How can I change it? You said, Patrick, the first thing that happens when you get to the point where you don't want to repeat these cycles is you become paranoid. I remember my paranoia. Do you remember yours?
It's just a moment of, oh no. It's a shame because I should be happy because I have this winning streak and my account is going up and I feel really good and I feel like this great trader now, but it doesn't feel that way anymore because I know it's going to end. And typically when it ends, I'm going to go through a period of, my own consolidation in my account where it's going to go down a bit. I just don't want the ride to end, but I know it's going to. So if that makes any sense, like you're on this super fun roller coaster and you're more than halfway through, you want to have fun and yell and scream and whoop it up, but you also know it's about to end and that sucks. And for some reason, that feeling overrides the euphoria that would normally be there of this winning streak. But I think that's a good thing because it prevents me from doing exactly what we're talking about in this episode. Trading too frequently or upping my position size for no good reason, things like that.
So that paranoia is so healthy. And I always like to think about this whole thing as like, let's say you go to a party. You go to a party, you're one of the first couple people there, and it's always a little awkward. Then all of a sudden a couple more people start to come and it starts to get a little bit better. The music gets turned on, everything gets pretty good. And next thing you know, this party is cranking. Tons of people are there. You're having a great time. You're having some drinks. And at some point you think to yourself, man, this party can't get any better. This is the greatest party ever. And once you have that thought, you should leave. Because if you don't leave, you know what's going to happen. Patrick, have you been to a party like that before?
Yeah, many of them actually in my day.
And what happened after?
I drink my face off and I make a fool of myself, or I get sick, or or the cops show up, or a fight breaks out or something, right? As soon as it peaks, it's all downhill from there, either on my end or the party's end or whatever it was. Yeah, but you're right, it never fails.
Yeah, and if you don't leave at that time, you're going to puke or someone will puke on you. You will have puke on you by the end of the night, and you might actually end up in jail. So at those moments, we have to come to the realization of where we are in the cycle, where we are in the party, and understand, hey, we need to leave this party because the decisions we're going to make after that aren't likely to be good decisions. So we just need to remove ourselves from the party. So let's talk about a few ways to remove yourself from the party. This is one of the methods that I've used, and I use this all the time. I put myself in trading halts all the time. It used to be for bad things when I was a younger trader. Now it's for good things. When I have a big streak, I put myself on a trading halt. I say, hey, you know what? Take the rest of the week off. Just take the rest of the week off or the rest of the month off. You don't need to do any more. You've had a great month. Why do I do that? Because in the past, I tried to push it harder. And by the end of the month or the end of the week, I had less money than I had at that moment. I had this sense of paranoia. I realized, oh, these are the tops of my cycles. What can I do to make it to where the next time I place a trade, this is out of my system? I'm no longer on this high. I'm no longer feeling all the things I'm feeling. I put myself in a trading halt and I just chill out. I just sit back and chill out. And all of a sudden, all of those animal spirits come down, all of that emotions, all that dopamine, it comes down. And then when I come back to the market, I'm in a much better place mentally. What do you think about that method, Patrick?
Yeah, I like that. I like it quite a bit, and that's something I did. I never really thought of too much myself. The route I have taken, and I like both these options, but what I do is, I'm so black and white logic based. Is remember how we're talking before on the losing streak episodes about how you just need to go to your system and look at the back testing. Your back testing experienced those losing streaks, but it didn't give up. It just kept going. It didn't take breaks. It just kept trading because it doesn't know any better. And the end result ended up positive. By the same token, you also had winning streaks, sometimes really good ones, in that series of back testing. The system didn't do anything crazy. The system didn't think it was, quote, on a roll, which is absurd. The system didn't up its position sizing for no reason. It just kept doing it. And the end result was obviously good enough for you to trade with. So again, why do you need to do anything different? That's always kind of been how my brain processes things like that.
And that is exactly the right answer. And it was the same thing we talked about in the slumps episode. We said, if you're in a slump and you aren't the problem, you aren't effing it up, keep swinging. Same thing in this one. Make sure that you're not the problem. And for me, I put myself on a trading halt to make sure that I am not the problem because I've been the problem in the past and I haven't been able to handle it well. So I put myself in the trading halt to make sure that I'm not the problem next time I step back behind this system. Keep swinging is the correct answer, but we're all human. We all have our little things. We all have our little cycles. This is just a quick way to break that cycle. Take the week off, take the month off, to where all of a sudden when you come back, you've taken out all the garbage, all the baggage, all the dopamine's gone, and now you're going to be in a much better place for proper trading.
I agree. So to wrap everything up, as Rob says, you don't know shit. As VP says, if you've been trading for less than 5 years, you're not a great trader yet. So just understand those two things. It's not something we want to tell ourselves, but it doesn't mean it's not the truth. Stay in the pocket, understand that just like losing streaks, these winning streaks happen all the same. And you just got to, as Rob said, keep swinging, stay in the pocket, trade that system, and it's all going to work itself out in the end.
And make sure that you aren't the problem. You spent so much time developing your system. Don't be the reason why it fails. Don't be the reason.
Yeah, but before anything starts, you have to make sure you're not the reason. Yeah, for sure. Always something to remember too. Because a different version of you comes out during these winning streaks than those losing streaks. So you have to make sure you're not the problem on the losing end or the winning end, both. Very important. Without further ado, thank you all for joining us. Like and subscribe, please. Hit the bell, and we shall see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.